just been reviewing all the stuff coming out of Watches and Wonders, and as a watch enthusiast, I've got to admit, I'm so crushing on the Richemont group right now. It's kind of popular to sort of diss the big watch groups. It's kind of popular to love little independent brands. So to say I'm crushing on a group, and in particular Richemont, which is kind of famous for controlling its brands with an iron fist, is perhaps unusual. But having watched what's happening at Watches and Wonders, and in particular in light of a video that Jenny L did a couple of weeks ago talking about the problems with JLC, I have found myself actually more and more loving the way Richemont treats its brands. And in particular, I've really come to that opinion following Watches and Wonders. If you looked at Watches and Wonders, what you saw was, it's essentially the core of it is a Richemont show. So what you get to see is how Richemont is handling itself and its brands. And so what I saw was that Richemont have really concentrated on letting each brand do what they do best and not requiring them to chase off into areas which is not in their swim lane. So what we saw was Vacheron being so Vacheron, it was magnificent. The stuff they produced was brilliant. You saw JLC producing the exact stuff that makes JLC everything that many watch enthusiasts love. And that word many is so important. I don't care if it's all, I don't care if it's most. I think that the world is a better place, the watch collecting world is a better place when JLC just keeps on doing what they do. And the Richemont group gives them that ability to do so. In Jenny's piece, which was very good, and if it was a business consultant that came in to provide advice to a company without ever actually asking what that company was going to achieve, Jenny's advice, or wanted to achieve, Jenny's advice was perfect. You know, have some iconic brands, pay attention to what the market wants, concentrate on selling, don't de-emphasize your ability to make stuff. She's quite right. The problem is, I found myself watching that video thinking, you know what, if JLC took her advice, they'd probably make more money, and I as a watch enthusiast would be immeasurably sadder. Our world of watch collecting would be so much poorer if JLC took the advice of business consultants like Jenny to kind of be a pale version of Rolex, which is effectively what I felt she was advocating. And I get the feeling that Richemont aren't interested in taking the kind of generic how to be competitive, how to win the Watch World Cup that Jenny and pretty much everybody else seems to give to the Richemont brands. Instead, Richemont seem to be able to step back and say, we as a group do our best work when we let each of our players play their role to the best of their ability. So what you see is Cartier being so Cartier and producing fantastic winning watches that, you know, pretty much everyone at this show really enjoyed. You see Panerai being Panerai, sticking to what they know, the Luminor and the Douai, and instead of arcing off in a million different ways, creating what they know, but playing within that and producing some really interesting ideas. I think you saw the JLC Master Control collection that was released here, so JLC, so them, and brilliant. universally loved. And as I said, the Vacheron stuff was just killer. Oh, and you can't let the IWC stuff go either. So I mean, look, I just said IWC, Panerai, Cartier, JLC, Vacheron, the Piaget being Piaget and doing their thing. Do you think that the world would be, do you think the watch collecting world would be better off if Piaget didn't do the ultra thin and instead concentrated on something much more commercial, much more sellable? I don't think so. There's already people in that space. I think we're better off with Piaget doing the things that they do. So even though it's not for me, some of that stuff, even though I don't want to buy it, even though I could never afford it, I love that Richemont lets these brands do that. I love that what we don't get, or what we rarely get from Richemont brands, we do sometimes, but rarely get, pale, watered down imitations of what other people are finding is successful being forced on each of the brands. Instead, each of the brands is able to kind of just be the best versions of themselves, which I think is great. You know what? I don't know if it's the best strategy to make money. I don't know if Richemont would make more money if they picked a target, picked a brand and said, we want you to be like Rolex and we want you to do this. Maybe they would. But you know what? I don't think, in fact, no, I'm pretty confident we would be worse off. I'm pretty confident our watch world would be poorer for that. And so I am so thankful that Richemont have taken the approach they have to their brands. I think that it's great. And as I said, I'm kind of crushing on them a little bit. So that's really about it. That's, by the way, that's also going to be pretty much all of my SIHH / Watches and Wonders coverage. There's lots of other people covering all of the watches and everything. You don't really need to see my take on that. Yeah, that's really about it. Thanks very much. See you later. Bye. Just editing this video and realised that I've spoken about how wonderful it is that Richemont brands stay in their swim lane, and how that may contradict something I said a couple of months or maybe even last year ago, where I said that we should be more comfortable with brands leaving their swim lane. There's an apparent contradiction there, but I don't think it entirely is. I don't think it's entirely contradictory. I think that you can make space for a brand choosing to specialize in something whilst at the same time allowing a brand to branch out. I think those are two different things. But I'll talk about that more later if it becomes interesting. I also did do a little slip up because that thought was going through my head, which then made me start thinking about the Panerai Douai, where I said the word Douai instead of Radiomir, obviously. Yeah, interesting how the brain works. Anyway, see you later. Bye.